All right, here we go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Arcade Tirade, the podcast that's all about video games. This is the episode for March 18th. I'm your host, Zuv.
Hi, this is Phantom Outlaw.
And let's do the show. So, what have you been playing lately, man?
Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5.
You still haven't beaten Resident Evil 2, or what's up?
No, I beat it several hundred times. The game is addicting for no reason. I don't know what it's one of those games like the last game I played like this was Double Dragon 2, where I played like almost every day, even after I beat it.
It has that replay factor. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it plus I've been speed running it to get infinite weapons and some other unlockables. So the game is like, I think my first playthrough was maybe 8-10 hours. So my fastest time is an hour 30 something.
Damn. So how long of a game would you say it is for the casual gamer, though?
Like I said, 8 to 10 hours.
Oh, I thought you were saying that's the speed run time. Okay.
No.
Well, that's cool.
Speed running. Now, just so I can be honest, the only reason I got that time with the 130 is because I end up using the infinite weapons for like bosses. But when I first actually had to unlock those weapons, my fastest time was like just playing without any help or anything is actually like 2 hours 30, 220, something like that.
Damn.
Because you have to beat it you had to get an S plus rank on the hardest setting. And it unlocks the weapons for Leon and Claire. And then you got to shoot all the raccoon toys, I think, to get the, well, not toys, what they call those things? They're like, what do you call those? Like the hula girl? What is that? It's like a toy.
You mean like that you mount on your car and it shakes?
Yeah.
I always think of a bobblehead, but I know that's not right.
Yeah. Well, you have this, they're hidden just like they did Resident Evil 7. You have to shoot these bobbleheads. In Resident Evil 7, they didn't unlock something. They kind of put that in this game. So it's a
little Easter egg.
Raccoon mascot. Yeah, so it's a mascot for the Raccoon City or whatever. And it's like 14 or 15. I can't remember the actual count. So I had to find all of those hidden throughout the game, and it gave me, I think, Infinite Knife, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, hold on a second. I'm going to turn your volume up.
Okay.
Okay, that should be good. Yeah, Y2K, which I'm still playing. I haven't played much lately, but that's the one that I come back to. They've got Pogs as a collectible in the game, since it's 90s themed.
Oh, yeah.
So you find them hidden on different maps and dungeons. And I think I mentioned this before, but the most unique thing about that game that I like is the mine dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Did we go over that?
No.
The mine dungeon's the leveling up system, but only for the main character. So you have to go to a payphone, which is how you save, and you go into your own mind, and you go through these series of levels. Each level is a level to level up, and you have these doors, and you can select the different attribute that you increase by assigning it to that door. And each level costs 100 experience points. It's kind of clunky, but I like the idea. I just listened to an interview with one of the co-creators. He said it's far from a perfect game, but it's his second game. So I think the other game he made was Brothers, which I...
Oh, shit! That was them?
Yeah. What's up with that? I don't know about that game.
Yeah, it was a... That game is excellent. It's the...
All the more reason to try Y2K if you haven't yet, man.
Oh, man, they make... Yeah, it's... So the control scheme on Brothers is you control two characters at once with the analog stick. So you have one doing something, the other. At least that's some of the gameplay. But the story, I think, is I haven't beat it yet, but yeah, that game was like one of the most critically acclaimed, even mostly by fans. I don't really read critics' reviews or nothing. Mm-hmm. As far as fans of that, I mean, everybody. That was one of the games. That was one of the games. I think when I was listening to Drop Frames, they were asking, like, what games made you cry, and that was like one of them was on the list.
Well, yeah, there's definitely an ongoing theme of emotion and character connection in both games, it seems. And I think, unfortunately for Y2K, it's gotten very, very mixed reviews so far. Mm-hmm. But, and by the way, the SJWs have also gotten involved on this amazingly because of the main character being narcissistic. I've heard a lot of people, not just SJWs, but just people criticize the main character because he's very self-absorbed.
Like SJWs are.
Yeah. So,
you know, I noticed
yeah. It could definitely be something they don't like that they see in themselves.
Yeah, that's basically what they do. They're So they just got upset over Brie Larson, who was the Captain Marvel actress.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Because she put on lipstick, or she's wearing lipstick in the in-game trailer.
What is that, objectifying women?
Who knows? I guess that's what it is. Like, feminists and SJWs don't like nice-looking people. But Brie Larson's a piece of shit, too, because she said some dumb shit before her movie came out about, I don't care about white... Yeah.
No, go ahead. I was just saying, I remember you were talking about this on another episode.
Oh. Yeah, she was like, before the movie came out, I don't care what no 40-year-old white dudes, and blah, 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 and then...
I don't get white shaming. Just like I don't get the alt-right white identity politics. I don't get either side. I don't get the whole represent your color represents more about you than your personality.
These people are so it's like they're doing the opposite of Martin Luther King wanted. It's all judged by the skin, the character, and they're so hell bent on exterior, what's between your legs. Like they think they're being progressive, but they're being like totally opposite of that.
They're being regressive.
Yeah, that's why when I told you that interviewed the guy from DS9, Deep Space Nine, which was a Star Trek series after, I think, Next Generation. I can't think of the actor's name, but he asked, he was doing a question and answer thing, and some dude got up asking him, well, how did it feel to be the first black? And dude was like, I didn't wake up thinking about my skin color. I was just happy to be on Star Trek. I didn't wake up like, man, I'm black today. He pretty much made that dude look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But these progressives, they're so caught up on skin color and stuff that they think that because they get to the point now that they think only a woman can direct a female movie, only a black person can direct. It's like, that's kind of racist in a way.
Well, it's definitely... what do you want to call it?
Or like a better, I don't have a word for it. Yeah, it's like, and they're just so self-centered. They think they're moral superior. They think they're the morally superior to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So they can't
arbiters of what should be.
So they don't see that they're the. I don't know. Humans have a hard time admitting when they're wrong anyway. These jokers are just so...
Again,
I don't
children.
understand it. Yeah, they're just...
Children. Calm down, children.
So they got mad at... They're mad at Brie Larson. So they're mad at this guy from Y2 because of the character.
Because of the character, there have been other criticisms. I don't get into all of it. The other big one that... I guess you could put under the umbrella of social justice, but do you remember that girl in real life? Do you remember that girl that was found above that building in a water tank because the water that was going in, I think it was a hotel, turned black or it was just foul?
Yeah.
So the first major female character that you run into in the game, right after you meet her, she gets sucked out of an elevator by these interdimensional beings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's footage on this website in the game of an elevator camera where you see her get pulled out. And that was inspired by that real-life event.
Mm-hmm.
And so people were getting mad about that because they were saying, oh, you're being calloused. You're not being sensitive about the reality of how horrible, something so horrible that happened to that person. My whole take is, okay, but there are a lot of things, and this is what they were talking about with the developer. He said there have been a lot of good things inspired by real-life events. Most things in fiction were inspired, at least to some degree, by real-life events.
SJWs don't understand that. Like, they think that's why their comic books, because they've gotten to comic books, and they're so bad that they don't. I watched the guy's video where he does comic book reviews, and he had a 80s, just the way Marvel used to do comics before these SJWs got into the market of the comic business, because they're pretty much fucking it up. That the comic industry is like down in the dumps because they take an established character and change their gender or change their sexual orientation, or they focus on that when they didn't have any of that in the first place. So
I remember they made. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I remember they made one character a feminist. I saw a picture of her holding a sign that said, "Ask me about my feminism." I don't know the whole context.
I don't know who the character. I can't remember who that character was. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what character that's supposed to be in.
And then I saw another comic where they have Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in there talking about social justice, I think it was. It's very...
They made Iceman gay. They made
Wasn't
Thor
Green Lantern
female.
Also?
Yeah, they did that.
Has he always been gay, or did they make him gay?
He never. Nobody knew what comic books didn't go there. The only comic book I remember that talked about anybody's relationship was maybe Spider-Man, because he was with what's her face? I can't think of her name right now.
Oh, what's her name? Mary Jo?
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. Was it Mary Jane?
I think it was Mary Jane.
It was something real basic.
I should know this. And I mean, I guess if you count Archie and Veronica, I mean, Betty and Ronald weren't really a relationship, but that little triangle thing they had. But other than that, nobody really, no character that was kind of like He-Man. You didn't know he was dating if he was just fighting Skeletor. Nobody really cared who he was sleeping with. Nobody thought about it. It was just a good versus evil cartoon, and we left it at that. Now they want to make relationships out of stuff that was never there. And that's what they did with Iceman. Iceman was never, don't know what his sexual orientation was, because that wasn't a part of his, nobody cared. I mean,
right.
There was
had nothing to do with the character or the story.
Yeah, it wasn't even, rather he was straight or gay was not a question, because nobody cared to think about that. He was just Iceman. It was a character. Nobody, it's not real. So who would think about that?
Right.
Same thing they did with Bert and Ernie. When I was a kid, I was like, gay people got upset about that being, when Frank Oz said, no, they're not gay. They're just, and they got upset over that. It was like, they're puppets. And why would a kid need to even know all of that stuff? They just want to see puppets talk about whatever. We don't think about that. When I was a kid, I wasn't thinking about who anybody was fucking. I just want...
Right, well, that shouldn't be...
trying to shoehorn shit into stuff that's not there. And it's like...
Yeah, that shouldn't be something on a kid's show you focus on.
Yeah, and if you need a puppet to validate your existence, something's wrong with you. Like, I never... Like I said, I remember when Blade came out, it was cool to see a black hero and everything, but I didn't feel like I needed that to make myself feel alive or feel like I was. I just didn't need that validation. I had my parents. They helped me with my self-esteem or whatever, but I never had to look to a cartoon and go, man, only if like that's gonna make me feel better. I don't need to see somebody that looks like me all the time to like a movie. Like one of my favorite movies is Star Wars, or mostly Godzilla movies. None of I never go in there thinking, why did they put me on? I can't get into that. It just don't bother me like that. But this is a weird group of people, man. It's like you said, though, when companies and shit start listening to this shit, though, listening to them, that's where I get upset myself. It's like, do these people look for anything? They're so miserable with whoever they are, they got to make everybody else miserable.
Well, have you heard of cancel culture?
No, what's that?
The concept of cancel culture. It's basically what we've been talking about, but there's a name for it now.
Oh.
Cancel culture is basically the experience or the thought that some people have now, that if somebody says or feels a way about something that you don't agree with, that they should just disappear. So that goes for all of the alleged people in the Me Too movement, anybody that has an unpopular political opinion or did something that people don't accept. Like if somebody has a bad idea, I'm all for calling them out and arguing about it, but to just try and force publishers, platforms to completely eliminate that person, as long as they don't violate the company's rules, I think it's bullshit. I think that's pretty obvious to the audience, though.
But I don't even know, like when that dude wrote that. I mean, I remember Matt Damon. He just said, "Look, harassment is bad, but let's not equate touching somebody on the butt with rape." And they got on him for making sense. So I'm like, don't apologize to these people, and because it makes it worse. But
well, what's unfortunate is that a lot of people that say something controversial and then get called out, they're not really hip to this whole scene of what's going on with the outrage culture, so they think
exactly.
for their public image, they think, okay, well, I'm just going to toe the line.
Yeah, it blindsides them because you think I'm a normal thinking person. Who the fuck would think like this? And it hits you from the side like, well damn. Because I think the first time I got wind of I remember Joe Rogan talked about it. When he used that first person I heard use that. I'm saying he was the first to say it, but first one I heard say it, SJW. I knew it was an ironic term, meaning I was like, oh, that sounds like political correctness on steroids. But I did not expect it to go to the length that it has, where they're trying to get people fired and screw up people's livelihood and stuff over an opinion. And then when their side gets, I remember they was going to make Buffy a black girl. I guess they're going to renew it. Anita and all them got upset over that. It was like, wait a minute, you got upset when we thought they shouldn't gender swap certain characters and stuff. That's fucking hypocrites. It's like anything that they like and you screw it up, they just like with this Brie Larson, they was on her side when she was saying all that shit about white men and stuff. So when now she put on lipstick, now they kind of flipped out on her. And the Russo brothers, who's making I guess they made Infinity War and some of the other Marvel movies. That's weird, man. I don't know how we got here. That's why I told you I've seen political, not to this length. I've never seen anything like this before. Because I don't know how you fight it.
Well, yeah, that's a big question, is how social media is going to react and evolve, or if it's going to evolve. Well, it's going to evolve in some way. I really liked that. Of course, I don't know if you saw or heard about Joe Rogan had Jack from Twitter on his show.
The first one. Then I listened to Tim. I don't know if you.
Yes, with Tim Pool.
I love Tim Pool.
It's like The Return.
I love Tim Pool. Yeah, I listened to that whole thing. like I think Monday.
It just went in circles the whole time. He would say, okay, you seem to have a bias because you tend to censor these people instead of these people. And then the lady, I forget her name, she would say, well, no, each case is different, and we have a team that looks over it, and we take care of that. And then Tim Pool would say, okay, well, that team clearly has a bias. And she would say, no, these are just what we consider. I don't want to misrepresent everything she said, but basically it would go in that circle, and she would respond by saying, well, no, we have a team that we have, they follow a set rule of, or a set of standards to make sure that the website's regulated. And then he would say, yes, and those people have a bias.
Well, so some examples that he brought up too was some stuff from Antifa that wasn't deleted, or they didn't ban their tweets or ban them.
Mm-hmm. And
he was saying it's looking like it's leaning so far one side, and he's a liberal,
right?
But he said he's the liberal I grew up with that gave a shit about free speech. It is weird how it's flipped now that they're like more for censorship now. But he was saying it seems so lopsided that only a lot of conservatives are getting the boot as opposed to groups. So you would think, well, if you're following this rule, it seems like it's not applying to everybody. There seems to be some double standards there. And of course, and then they got on the dude from Twitter because he interviewed a guy that was talking about vaccines or the dangers of vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was interview the guy, and he said, well, thanks for coming on my show. It's the job he's got on him for that. Because he interviewed the guy about vaccinations. The guy was like anti-vaccinations. All he did was, I can't think of the guy that runs Twitter, but all he did was interview him on the podcast, and then his people, they eat their own at some point, because it doesn't matter. You can't please these people, and I don't know why people keep trying to.
Right. Well, let's move along, shall we?
Yeah.
So how about that news? Not one piece of news, but news in general.
I have not been keeping up with much of anything.
I haven't quite as much lately with the new job, but there were a couple things that caught my attention. Did you hear about the rumor? And something might have developed since I got this story, since this is a few days old, actually. Sega and Google working together on a console?
I thought that was a rumor.
Yeah, it is a rumor.
Oh, it is still a rumor. Oh, okay. I did hear a little bit about it, but I never followed up on info on it.
So, according to the website The Gamer, they say, we've known that Google is entering the gaming sector for a while now, but the latest rumors suggesting they have backup, Sega. So in a video on a YouTube channel, a certain YouTuber, Spawnwave, has outlined all the reasons why he thinks Google is about to enter the gaming market. Well, the audience can watch that video if they want. I won't get into that. But the rumors are heating up, mostly thanks to a patent for a controller filed by Google on January 31st. No images of the controller officially exist, but there is concept art out on the internet that people can look at.
Whole Soldier Boy ain't behind this.
Oh, shit. He can stay away. He ruined hip-hop. He helped ruin hip-hop. I don't want him to try and ruin video games. EA can do that. EA and all the other big developers that are making all these DLC, Kitty, General, blah, 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 blah. Anyway. It says, we already know that Ubisoft is on board with Google since a public beta of their upcoming streaming service featured Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. However, it makes sense that other software partners would also be involved in such a large-scale project. It says, when it comes to Sega, the rumors that it's a major partner of Google and is heavily involved in the process, while this is all pure speculation, people will be excited to potentially see more content from Sega. The partnership makes sense in many ways, and it isn't a totally crazy idea. Let's see here. Is there anything really of substance, though? It says here, the main information we know for sure is that Google is set to make an announcement at GDC, Game Developers Conference, on March 19th. It says they have announced a press conference and have invited a large number of gaming media, suggesting the announcement will be in this area. So we'll have to wait and see if they say anything, if any of these rumors are actually true. I don't know, how would you feel about a Google-Sega hybrid console?
I always think what games would be available for something like that. Even back in the day when new consoles would come out, I always got more concerned about what type of games would be for it. I mean, you got the PS5 coming out soon. Well, not soon, but next couple of years, I'm assuming. And then a new Xbox. And the way the console market seems to work, it seems you can only really have 3. Or that seems like the what am I looking for? The way the business is set up, it seems like it's only room for no more than 3. I mean, unless you count PC, but most of those games you can, those kind of interchangeable, or not interchangeable, but
PC's on a different level.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can count them as, they're kind of, hold on, sorry.
They're the master race.
You got the consoles, Sega, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, no, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. And even amongst those 3, I mean, you add a 4th or 5th one. I don't know how. That's just a whole different beast the way games go. It's not like movies and other types of media, music and stuff. That the consoles are expensive, and then you want to make sure those games are something somebody would mess with. Sony, I mean, there's almost, if you can get everything on the one platform, I think people just gravitate towards just one because they can just afford the one thing. Having a bunch of consoles come out, I think the most I can remember around 93, 94, somewhere in the early 90s, we had like TurboGrafx, Super Nintendo, Sega, PC Engine. Well, no, PC Engine, TurboGrafx, same thing.
We had the 3DO.
Yeah, 3DO.
We had
and look where they went,
Neo Geo.
But look what happened to them. They didn't. They came
Neo
out,
Geo
but
didn't have a chance from the start. Way too expensive.
Only 2 of those companies survived when it was Nintendo and Sega. And then even when Sony got into the game, somebody went third. Somebody got it. Nintendo kind of.
Nintendo dropped down to the 3rd leg for a while.
Yeah.
They're still pretty much in that place. Although they're definitely coming back.
Seeing them do that, it would be... Even when Dreamcast came out, I mean, Sega, Sony came out with the new PlayStation, and I don't know what kind of type of games Google would ever have. Or...
Google and Sega.
It's Google and Sega. I remember when Steam even came out with a system. I think it was called Steam Machine.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, nobody bought that.
That's why I don't really know about it.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in Toys R Us when they were around. I thought it was just... I think it was meant to be like, if you did own a PC, it was the console to get Steam games on. But people are like, might as well get a PC instead. So.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see what, if anything, happens out of that. I'd mainly be interested in what Sega would bring to the table. And potentially other developers. I don't know how accurate this is, but if you have too many major players at one time, major consoles that is, wouldn't the revenues start to get stretched out a little bit maybe this is completely unfounded, but you know what I mean?
With the developers or with the
With the audience, they'd be investing, and companies would have a harder time making money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think what happened in the early '90s that's why I said I think it's only room for at least only 3. Because nobody, I mean, if you don't have a PC and you're a console player, most likely people are going to get a PlayStation. They may get the Switch, but not many people like myself will have both an Xbox or a PlayStation. They're going to get one or the other.
Right.
For most people will, because it's like they can only get within their budget, and they're just focused on that one console. And PlayStation actually having both of them, PlayStation and Xbox, PlayStation does have. It is kind of the end all be all, to be honest. I mean, they got better exclusives. They got better, I guess, RPGs and Japanese titles that usually won't get on Xbox, especially since Japan doesn't even really fuck with Xbox. So yeah, adding another player to people either go PC, PlayStation, or Switch. If they get a second console, Switch may be the secondary console, but not many people will have a PlayStation and an Xbox. They get one or the other. So you throw another system in the mix, I can't see how it would survive. Because I think games, even with the way things are now, a lot of stuff, even on the Switch, are games that came from previous years, and they just put them on the Switch. So it's like you're just getting the same game on each console. That's why I used to think exclusives were bad, but you almost kind of need them now, because I guess if I'm a company, I would want the best exclusives possible, so people come to my console.
Oh, absolutely. I just think Nintendo has the best exclusives for the overall. Well, as far as numbers go, numbers of IPs, numbers of franchises. But
yeah,
they're set to a certain audience.
But I mean, God of War, and I mean, if you're talking about Nintendo in-house stuff, of course, first-party stuff,
right?
But
yeah, the first party. But then you have
Sony's
other Sorry, you're about to go into that. I think the other exclusives.
Yeah. Even Sony has where's their first party stuff? Well, I think it will be God of War, and Horizon Zero Dawn, a few other Little Big Planet, stuff like that. Is that third party, or they're just exclusive to the PlayStation? Something like that. What PlayStation? I mean, Xbox has the Forza and Halo series, Fable. So,
and of course, time's still going on like always, so there can always be more to come. But they seem to be doing pretty well with major third-party developing platforms or games also. And Nintendo generally misses out on those, so they help keep those Xbox and PlayStation going pretty well.
Yep. But yeah, I don't think there's room for another. I mean, even you look at the handheld market, I don't hear anybody talk about the Vita. I barely hear anybody talk about the 3DS now. I'm
convinced the 3DS is dead.
Being that the Switch is a hybrid, so it can handle the on-the-go stuff and it's a console, so it's almost needless to have a 3DS at this point, I think.
Random thought. Have you tried Tetris 99?
Yes.
How is that?
It's Tetris.
Well, yeah. They randomly pitch up against 98 other players, right?
Yeah. And I don't really pay attention to the other 98 players because I'm not that good with Tetris. It should be, but I think that there was a Tetris game that came out on PlayStation like ages ago, and there was a different kind of spin on Tetris. I think that's why I even liked it. It didn't play like a regular Tetris game. It was still Tetris, but it was like some kind of. I wish I remember the name of it. I think with the blocks, the what do they call the Tetris? Just Tetris. What are those? The things that fall. Is that just called Tetris?
I always call them the blocks. I think there's a name, but I don't know what it is.
Well, in this game, the blocks would blend together. In this PlayStation Tetris game, they would blend together to make blocks instead of just being one solid item. If that makes sense, they blended together. Where regular Tetris, yeah, you get the same colors in a row, of course, but these blended together. I wish I could remember the fucking name of that PlayStation Tetris game. But it played different than the regular Tetris did. And I think that's why I liked it a little bit more, because I was not into Tetris that much. But something about this Tetris was...
Well, for me, it was like when you play Tetris enough times, that's it. It's always a fun game to me that you can go back and play now and then. I'm glad Tetris 99 is free because I couldn't see many people spending much on another copy of Tetris, basically. But yeah, I've played different versions, and then I've played the columns style of that same puzzle stacking game with a million different versions of that. But how many times can you really... It's called
the Next Tetris.
It's called the Next Tetris?
Yeah, it was called the Next Tetris on PlayStation.
Okay.
First one, yeah. Yeah, that's the one only Tetris game I really got into. I did get into, like, because it was free, Tetris 99, and then it was, I had to look on my Switch. It's, hold on for a second. It's called... Oh, Puyo Puyo.
Oh, yeah.
But Puyo Puyo, and it's got Tetris. So it's Puyo Puyo Tetris. It's both games. But that's like $30. My kid likes it a lot, so it's by Sega. So you can play either the Puyo Puyo part or the Tetris part. And, yeah.
So one last thing, well, really, there's only two things for news that I have, but one more thing I wanted to touch on, news-related, and I know this is an old news story now by this point, but because of scheduling, there hasn't been an episode in a little while. Reggie Fils-Aimé, president of Nintendo, announcing his retirement, effective next month, I believe. You know, the guy... always to me, and especially looking at his history, he's had a lot of high-profile jobs in other big companies. I always just saw him as a face that acted hype, that acted interested, and I'm not saying that he had absolutely no interest in video games, and I think he did a pretty decent job representing and hyping the company, but... I don't feel any certain kind of way about it, really. I don't know. What did you think about that?
I just thought he was the Flavor Flav for Nintendo.
Yeah. So, he's gone. And
he was just kind of there. I didn't think he had... I'm not sure how... I just thought he was this face for the company. I don't know how much... I'm sure he had some power, but I just don't know what...
Yeah, he really had to answer to Nintendo Japan at the end of the day. So, I don't think he had that big of an impact on the company's internal development. I think he was mostly meme fuel.
Yeah.
Some of the most famous memes because of him. But yeah, now his new replacement, more memes now because his name's Bowser. Andrew Bowser, this guy. Or no, not Andrew Bowser. I'm thinking of that guy from that other side. Doug Bowser.
I thought it was a joke. This motherfucker's real name.
No, that's the dude. That's the real dude. He's been with Nintendo for a little bit, and Reggie's been grooming him for a while. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that's
Well, I would watch interviews with Fils-Aimé, and I remember, you know, he had some point blank questions. It was almost like, I think when the Switch came out, and since you can't communicate with anybody directly on the Switch, you have to get an app on the cell phone and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And him explaining that was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And the
shit with the amiibo where when you played Smash Brothers, was it amiibo? Yeah, if you use the amiibo on Smash Brothers, at least on the Wii U version, I thought when they did that you were going to be able to use the characters in some kind of way or level them up and be able to use them. But they were basically there if you didn't have anybody else to play with. And I'm trying to explain, like, this is a good feature to have a amiibo.
Wait, what do you mean you don't have anybody to play with? You mean
it's basically an AI, just an AI to help.
The game already has AI built in.
I know, but for some reason I didn't understand what they were trying to. They couldn't figure out what to really do with the amiibo for Smash Brothers at that time.
Gimmicks.
And the only thing they could come up with
about gimmicks.
And the only thing they can come up with was it's like a little. I'm like, I can't control. You can't control it, and I think it levels up on its own if you put it in your game to play. It was some weird excuse or some weird reason why this is supposed to be a good thing, and it just sounded like, dude, stop. This is pointless. I never knew why they needed to put amiibo in that game because they were useless.
Yeah. Again, remember Rob the Robot. Remember the their VR console, the Virtual Boy. They've had some crazy ideas that have stuck, but they've also had a lot that haven't.
How's not Lobo? What the fuck is the cardboard?
Labo, dude. I was just thinking about asking you that too because I was wondering the same thing. I always thought it was the stupidest thing I had seen in a long time.
Yeah, I don't know how it's doing business wise. Like, are people liking it? Is it?
I still see it on shelves, pretty prominently displayed.
I do too, but I also don't see them advertising. I can't think of the last direct they had that even mentioned those Labo stuff.
Well, I hear updates on Nintendo auxiliary channels, not directly connected to Nintendo, I don't think, but they focus on Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So in this era also, you can get, okay, it's not new, but with YouTube now, you have all these outlets that do a lot of the promotion for you.
Oh, okay.
Because their specialty is covering your content. Sort of a useful career YouTuber. Like a useful idiot, but not necessarily.
Huh.
So anyway, how about we move on to the main subject at hand for today?
Sounds good to me. Oh, we were talking about the news. It was one kind of news thing. Kind of went down last week. So it's a game called Anthem, which is a looter shooter. Yeah. They did something weird where the loot drops were good, but it turned out to be like a glitch, and then they fixed it, quote unquote fixed it, and so they normalized the loot drops, which pissed off the fans because they were getting really good stuff from the glitched good drops. Then they fixed it, and the drops aren't as common or whatever. And I think they end up boycotting it or something. Or they said they weren't going to play it for a week until they fixed this issue. Like, it's been this ongoing thing with the loot thing. And I've been trying to keep up somewhat with it, but I remember when it had server issues when it released, and I thought, and BioWare, I think that's who makes it. I don't know, they're owned by EA, man. It's like they're making so many mistakes with some of these companies. And Anthem was, like, I might as well stick with Warframe. Warframe seems it's an independent company, indie company that does Warframe. They seem to do a better job than this game that you have to pay for. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I think like these players went on strike or some to that effect until EA or somebody does something about the way the game is being handled at this point.
That's ironic that a bug was actually preferred.
Yeah. It's kind of like the NFL where people kind of liked the replacement referees because they actually let the game play. It's actually more fun to watch. And they were making silly calls at some point, but man, the game seemed to, it wasn't a flag on every play like it is. That's why I can't watch football anymore. It's like, it's so boring to watch now. But yeah, it's like a bug that kind of people liked, and they fixed it, and it just made things kind of like
they quote fixed it.
Yeah. Well, we didn't intend to make you guys happy.
Oh, you're having fun? You like those handouts? Too bad.
Fucking EA.
Shutting your shit down.
And it wasn't even like the loots were over and abundant. It was just people who played it felt rewarded for working as hard as they did. For whatever the gameplay was, they felt like, hey, I got rewarded for doing something, instead of feeling like I got to grind so much and I'm not getting much for it. What's the point of grinding a game this much and I'm just getting, hardly anything? So people feeling good about getting good loot for their hard work, and they fucking quote unquote fixed it. Yeah, that's EA for you. It's like, fuck, they're happy. Let's no, can't have that. Are you crazy?
We're the most hated. Is this the 90s?
We got to keep that rep. We got to be the most hated company on the planet. We got to keep that going.
Right, they're the Imagine Dragons of game development now.
The Kardashians.
The Kardashians of game development.
They thrive off the hate.
And they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Because people are going to buy the next year's sports game, whatever edition, whatever brand you put on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, then, anything else?
I think that was it. That was when you brought up news. That was kind of the only thing I remember following kind of a lot in terms of gaming news. At EA again, it's like fuck EA, man. But yeah, I'm done with that news stuff.
All right. So today's topic, as one of our previous episodes, we talked about movies and TV shows based on video games. Now we're going to flip it around, video games based on TVs and movies. And there was another part you wanted to put in there, right?
Well, it's not a part, I guess. It games, because there are some games I played that were based on movies that were not movie tie-ins, meaning releasing the game simultaneously to promote the movie or something. So that's basically what I was talking about, including, because some games based on movies may have come out months. They didn't really go along with the come out when the movie came out. They may have come out sometime after the movie, like Terminator 2 video game on Super Nintendo. Well, I first played it on NES, but that was some months after the movie came out. It didn't come out simultaneously with the movie, but I think Street Fighter, the movie, I want to say the game came out alongside it some kind of way. I'm trying to think of another movie they did that, where it released the movie and they wanted the game to be done by the time the movie was out. Usually Disney cartoons, I think.
Yeah, Disney, and they do a good job, or they did at least in the past, working with the game developers.
Yeah.
And you can see that with the Genesis version of Aladdin versus SNES.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Maybe this is what you were talking about. Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
Yes. Yeah.
A gaming inception, if you will.
Yeah. Well, they took. I don't know if they used rotoscope, or they took kind of the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, where they used to look like they took the digitized, realistic looking characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rotoscope.
And then digitized them, and then I think that the Street Fighter movie did that thing where they took, the actual Claude Van Damme and then put them in a game, pretty much. Just digitized them and put them in Street Fighter.
And from the footage I've seen, it didn't look very good.
Nah.
They had the technology. They had rotoscope technology back then, but generally they used it as a crutch in all the games I've seen it in, like the CGI, what was it? The Philips system, the CDI games. They used a lot of that. The 32X used some of that. Saturn used some of that. Generally, the games weren't very good, but they said, "Oh, well, they've got rotoscope. This looks realistic, right? Right? It's good then, right?"
I would say Flashback did an excellent job of using that rotoscope animation, and Shaq Fu used it too, but it was a shit game. So I say out of all those, I think Flashback was probably one of the better games that used it, and it was actually a good game.
Shaq Fu was just released too early. The world couldn't handle it.
Well, it was that. Again, that fighting game craze back then, kind of like what shooters are today, kind of like what game is real popular now? I guess BR games, like Fortnite and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sandbox games.
Yeah, that was fighting games back then when Street Fighter came out. Then everybody had a fighting game, and the only survivors out of all that was Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, and even SNK still got some stuff. They still do. But yeah, I remember that. Oh man, there was so many fighting games out at that time. And then Shaq decided to do one too. I would say the new Shaq, the one I have on a new Shaq Fu I got on the Switch. That shit is actually fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Now the world wasn't ready. Now it is.
And it's not a fighting game. It's just like a straight up beat 'em up. So.
Well, what about the worst game based on a movie
that I played or that I know? I didn't play
either or.
I don't know offhand. I don't know. I didn't realize it was that many because so I got a list here. There was a game. I didn't know Saw. I forgot Saw had a game based on that movie. Saw 2, Flesh and Blood, was on PC, PS3, Xbox 360. Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green, PC and Xbox. Jaws, Unleashed, PC, PS2, Xbox. Nightmare on Elm Street, NES. Bram Stoker's Dracula on the Super Nintendo and Genesis. The Thing, PC, PS2, Xbox. Friday the 13th, NES. I think out of all of these I'm seeing on this list so far, I think Alien Isolation was probably most people like and praise pretty much.
Mm-hmm. A genuinely nerve-wracking game.
Yeah, I hear it is.
Fun to even just watch.
Evil Dead, Fistful of Boomstick, PS2, Xbox, and Friday the 13th, the game, PS4, Xbox One, PC, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Dead by Daylight, but it's basically someone plays a killer and you play for other characters or for other player, or for people play for other characters, and they have different attributes. and they all have to work together to get out of that area that they're in. And there's one killer, and he has to kill all of them. And then, you know, so Friday the 13th is kind of set up that way. But I think it's got that same kind of gameplay that Dead by Daylight has. And I can't think of a game that was out. There was a game that used to come out. That was out. Dead Realm. It was, you played as some man kid, a werewolf, and a ghost or something. And that killer would touch another player, and that player would become a ghost or become a werewolf or become something. But that was before Dead by Daylight and all these other games. That's kind of a niche. I don't think it's as popular. I know Dead by Daylight is probably one that stands out to be ones people still play now. They play Friday the 13th, but I think they have some licensing issue.
Well, what about the original Friday the 13th video game?
Which I think was an NES game.
Yeah. I believe LJN, Rainbow of Death. That one good thing that spawned out of that game was one of the songs on the soundtrack was remade by the 1-Ups into a pretty cool song. But as far as contribution, I remember it had a very interesting setup with a large map you could explore, and you had to chase down Jason. But again, like so many failed games, it had some good ideas, but they weren't executed the right way. Jaws,
yeah, I can't.
Also.
Yeah, I don't know what game I can say was the worst.
Well, I think E.T. would give a pretty good run.
Oh yeah,
for money.
But you know what? I never played it, so
and
I hear.
But I've heard so much and seen so much.
I've heard it's like so bad.
Well, the guy that programmed the game, I believe he worked alone, and he was rushing to get it out by the holidays. Oops, sorry, Christmas.
Yes, thank you. Say Christmas, please. Piss off the SJWs. Say Christmas.
And
Jesus fucking Christ.
He did it in something like just over a month, or maybe 2 months. So it was incredibly rushed.
I gotta say, it's kind of like Ed Wood's movie, or Planet Nine was said to be the worst movie ever. And I'm like, oh man, I've seen some shit after that. I don't think that's the worst movie. It's got some competition, I'll put it that way. So I think E.T. also has some competition. That's some of the worst games.
Oh yeah, definitely. How about The Matrix?
I think I rented that and I took that shit right back. I did not like that.
Yeah, The Matrix, a friend of mine had that. I thought the programming screen, again, interesting ideas, but there was just so much open and so little information out there. We have to remember this was in the infancy days of the internet, or maybe toddler days of the internet. But to me, having to look up information online just to figure out how something in a game works is bullshit.
Yeah.
If the game can't explain it for you, then something has failed in the game. Or somebody didn't take the effort or the time to get that straightened out. And the hype around the Matrix back then was so real, so huge, that people wanted a game based off of it, and they got that clunky work that they got.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh man. Glad I rented it before I'm not big into games based on movies. They usually don't. They either got to follow the movie. I mean, the best one I played, the one I personally love, is Alien 3 and Terminator. Like, when I first played Terminator 2 on NES, I think it's got a charm to it. It's not like the best game in the world. It's kind of goofy. Because you got Arnold Schwarzenegger or Terminator. You got to go get close. So you got to start the game. You got to run to the bar, and you beat up some bikers, and you just punch because you don't have a gun yet. So you got to punch bikers, So it seems like it starts as a beat 'em up, then it goes into a shooter, and then it's like a really weird. But they took some of the stuff from the movie and try to make a game out of it. It wasn't bad, but it's a charm. Some charming about it for me.
Well, especially when you try to take a game and insert multiple genres into the game. You have to have people that are skilled at each type of style for whatever level, whatever genre. If it's a shooter and then a racing game on another level and then a platformer. And there have been games that have done it really well, but you gotta do it right.
Yeah, and it made sense how you progress. It was just, I don't know, it was kind of goofy. You just punch people off the bike and then you fight a boss and you finally get your gun. And you got to go save Sarah Connor. There's even the chase scene where it's like a isometric top-down view. So T-1000 is chasing you in a truck, and you got to shoot the gates open. Even if you don't get those in time, you get fucked up. But you got to shoot the cops in the knee, or you can kill them right out. But I remember there was some controversy over that game when it came out because they were upset that you could shoot or kill cops in the game. And this was fucking 1990.
Did it follow the movie in which John Connor tells him that he doesn't want him to kill?
I think I know there's like what you consider a cutscene. But yeah, that's why I think you got more points or something if you shot him in the knee and not kill the cop. So you had to shoot him in the knee. You didn't have to, but I think you got some kind of bonus for not shooting him dead. You had to shoot him in the leg. Oh, I think that's what it was. If you shot him in the leg, shot him other than shoot him in the leg, I think the T-1000 would catch you or some shit. Like, there was a penalty for it if you killed him. But if you shot him in the knee, it kept the T-1000. Some shit like that.
It slowed him down.
Yeah, because there's parts of the asylum or whatever.
It slowed it down. I don't want to misgender the robot, sorry.
Whereas Sarah Connor, you got to go get her. And the T-1000 isn't, it'll morph and try to chase you in other parts of the room, but you have to shoot the cops in the leg. And I think if you shoot them, it's a penalty. I think the T-1000 gets faster or some shit like that. It's been a while since I played it, but it's kind of fun for, at the time I played it. I still have it, I think. It's not the worst thing I've ever played, but it's not the best either. But it's fun.
What about the SNES Star Wars trilogy? What did you think of those?
Oh.
Fun, but hard as fuck, right?
Dude, yeah. That's probably one of my favorite. If I think about like the games I played back in the NES days, man, Empire Strikes Back and this first Star Wars, probably my favorite. I did not like Return of the Jedi that much. It's like, it felt like they rushed that game. It wasn't that good, but the first two, I love the shit out of those. And my friend of mine introduced me to those two games because, again, I wasn't into games based on movies. So I'm like, they usually don't do a good job on them. But
no, they really don't, and that's why, like you, I've steered away from a lot of games based on movies. How about Home Alone? How about Ghostbusters?
That was good. Wait, which one are we talking about? Because I had several. This one,
I just remember there's you go around a city and you go from building to building, and there's the Ghostbusters symbol chasing your the Ghostmobile. Or I'm out of touch. Is that what they called it? What did they call their car?
The Ectoplasm, Ecto-1.
The Ecto-1. There we go. I'm barely an '80s kid, but yeah. Every time you would go to a building, there would be a scene where you'd have to go down the road and dodge the ghosts. I just remember everybody saying it was a pretty bad one.
So the one I played came out on Was it Xbox? It's 360.
Oh yeah, the later one, the good one.
Yeah, that one.
I've got that in notes too. Actually, I was going to talk about that, and when I brought up Ghostbusters, my mind was still on NES. But yes, the one that Aykroyd and Ramis wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that made a big difference, I think, as opposed to having some board of writers for a development studio come up with a plot. You actually had the guys that wrote the movies write the game. And yeah, I remember seeing that game, my friend playing it, I played it. It was fun. It was a continuation of Ghostbusters. It was, I know it's a cliched phrase, but it was a love letter to Ghostbusters fans.
Mm-hmm.
It had a good plot. The voice acting wasn't bad. And they had everybody except for Rick Moranis in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason he doesn't do anything Ghostbusters related. He doesn't want to be involved. At this point, I can completely understand.
I thought somebody offered to... Oh, it may have been a rumor. I thought he may have said that if they asked him to do another Ghostbuster movie, he would. I think with the new one that's supposed to be coming out.
Yeah, with the new one, I could understand.
Yeah, that was a rumor that he said if given a chance, he would reprise his role or be in it if they asked him to be in it.
Do you remember when James Rolfe, the video game nerd, got a bunch of flack because he refused to review the female Ghostbusters movie?
Yeah.
Man, that was a while ago now, wasn't it? When did that movie come out?
2016.
2016?
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird how time changes from my perspective as I get older. Like, I don't even... Like, the 2000s and the 2010s blend together. And I guess, that's how it is when you're living through that time. And then when you look back, it's, popular culture frames it to be a certain way.
Yeah.
But... and now looking back, you can see the differences over time in culture, in the zeitgeist. But what was it? 2006, the year I graduated high school. A lot of things were just so drastically different. The music, the culture. Yeah, I was complaining about the music and some of the culture back then too. Now it's just I'm becoming an older. I don't want to say old. We're not old, but older guys. Started to
Doesn't that
disagree
make you
with more
sound
things.
older than you are, though?
What?
Instead of just saying old, like, I remember the first time I heard people trying to be politically correct with the word old, it was like, we can't say old, say older. It's like, doesn't that make them sound older than they actually are? It sounds worse.
No, I don't legit think that we're old, though.
So you think like it's like being pregnant, like
compared to who you're talking to, somebody might say, "Oh yeah, you guys are old," but
well, I know when I was growing up, God, being my age would have been like dinosaur, like dude, you're gonna die, and you just saw
at
my
9?
age as in the 80s, like.
Well, I do remember when having a 2-digit age was like a big deal to me.
Anything past 35, you were considered like, oh, that's why they always say, what, 60 is the new, what are they? They say that certain age range is the new 20 or some bullshit like that.
Oh, I remember a certain person who you and I both know who's old.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're in their 60s. One day I told him, don't you know that 60 is a new 40? And he just looked at me and told me to go fuck myself. Yeah, a certain
I guess they based it
individual.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think because people are living a little longer, medicine is way better than it used to be. I mean, shit, people are dying in their 30s and 40s because of fucking diseases. They didn't have the medicine that we have today.
I think some of that has to do with the development of outrage culture. Because with technology and overall societal improvements, people have more free time, they have more convenience, they have more platforms where they can speak their opinions and reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Twitter's basically a megaphone for anybody that's willing to pick it up. So I think, while it's a positive thing that conditions in society are improving in Western society, it also gives rise to these people who want to just nitpick about every little problem or make up problems. And I think that can make more problems, but I think it's a symptom of something that's overall a good thing.
Good thing in what sense?
It's good that we have better health care. We have better medicine technology. And the side effect, though, is that some people, they don't find what I would consider, what I think most people would consider a more productive hobby. So they take to outrage, finding problems. But I think
that's
what enables them to do that, I think, is a positive for society as a whole. But the way that they choose to use that new, those new opportunities, is bullshit.
That's why I make the joke that I think we've gotten. You're free when you can worry about somebody's lipstick. Like, if that's all you have to worry about is some bitch lipstick, you got no problem. Like, but I don't even understand. It's I always thought, like, when people, you fight in a war because you're trying to bring peace. You're trying to bring about something. You're trying to achieve a goal, and when you get that goal, people act weird for some reason. It's like, well, this is what we wanted. We don't really have a lot of issues, but it's weird to see that people. It's kind of like when people, they start a career and they get to the point that they get to in life where they financially, they can live off whatever, and then they find some problem with it. Like they try to create some issue with it instead of like, this is the goal I set myself to achieve, and it's like, I'm not happy. I need to find something to be upset about. Well, I don't understand that mentality.
Well, I think straight up working and putting aside everything else is definitely a fast track to just feeling depressed, even if you make it to what you thought your goal should be.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a social life. You got to have something else to unwind with. Preferably something that doesn't destroy you, but hey, it's your body, you do what you want. But the point is, I think people need friends. People need to go out and have a drink now and then. Not to say that there aren't plenty of people that do, but
I also do think, like I said, it's weird that we've got better medicine, better things in life, and to see people get upset over the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or some bullshit like that, or a song, Christmas song. It's like, y'all need to meet people that actually have problems and see how. I know a person that grew up poor and smiles and was smiling. Like, how did you not be depressed and do something to yourself living through that type of thing? And I've never seen her not smile. And she didn't have a lot growing up.
It's all perspective.
And you got people who have everything and they just find something to bitch about. It's a weird thing to see.
I think when things are going really well for you, you can embrace that and appreciate it, but for some people, doing well is not good enough. Their standards are higher. So if you're poor, your standards are lower. And you learn to appreciate things more generally. Not always. It depends on each person. But you learn to appreciate things more, and you don't just whine about or worry about, well, it could be this way, it could be like that. I need this. I'm entitled to that. Having a high sense of entitlement, it's good to have respect for yourself and think that you're deserving of things, but I'm just mulling over things that have already been said pretty much. it's basic stuff, but too many people seem to ignore it or not recognize that when it's in their own life.
I remember having a conversation with someone about what I thought that, like I said, I love technology, but I always thought it's weird when humans and technology, humans have the, I'm not for policing, but at least be able to, I don't know. I would never want to enforce or force somebody to have to wear a helmet, but I think it's a good thing to wear a helmet if you're going to ride a motorcycle or something. But it's your choice. I think when people get with social media and stuff, instead of looking at it as a tool to even like drive your business, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to put this. But I remember having a conversation with somebody. I was telling them I think people have lost the ability to, when they're on Twitter or they're behind a computer and texting so much. I mean, I know people that won't talk to you unless you text them.
Right.
Or get on Facebook. I've talked to family only through Facebook. It's like you call them, they're like, you don't get an answer. And it's like you grow up with not seeing a face, you just see a text. And I think there's some disconnect there where you forget there's a human on the other side of that thing, and you don't. That's why I think these SJWs are acting the way they don't see a person that they're trying to destroy. They just see, I think that they're used to, they can't empathize with anyone because I think they grew up with texting and not seeing a human face behind that text. And you kind of become socially awkward in some kind of way. It's some weird psychology. I don't know if I'm explaining it.
It depersonalizes, and you and I grew up before that totally immersed everything, but
yeah.
And I think that people use that technology as a crutch in certain situations because, like you said, people that just communicate strictly online through messaging or Facebook posts, they use that because they don't have to bother with the human interaction anymore, the verbal interaction, whether that's face-to-face or even just over a phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine there were people back in the day when the telephone came out that were worried about similar things. But this is way more extreme now. And yeah, there are plenty of people out there that are using it what I would consider responsibly. But you're
even
talking
with
about
the phone,
the social justice warriors. They grew up with the internet. They grew up with the anonymity of being able to communicate and not really getting a feel for the fact, like you said, there's another human being on the other end that's receiving that. So it's just, it's frustrating.
It's some weird disconnect there. It's like, because I remember I remember YouTube comments and stuff, because people would be able to type what they say and they don't. They I guess because the time we grew up in, I think having both, you needed a phone to communicate with somebody, and then you either had to meet that person or there was still human interaction on some level. You weren't just cut off strictly you weren't just on the phone. You had to see other people. You had to discuss things. Like I said, when I was growing up, you had to go out and discuss things with people. You had to talk to people. If you wanted to meet a girl, you had to go talk to them. You had to call them on the phone and you go meet somewhere. You didn't have...
Now you just swipe.
Yeah, just swipe. But there was still some element of I have to interact with somebody. So I grew up trying to treat people the same way online that I would treat them offline I would treat them online.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just been the time I grew up in. I still, I understand, when I grown up, like you got into a fight with somebody, you said, you called anybody a name or something. Y'all had a fight, you got met at a playground, you met somewhere else. There was no really weird way to get away from that.
I'm
you had
gonna
to meet
block
that
you
person.
on Twitter.
Yeah, now you can just block people and you can say whatever the fuck. You just block them. Back in the day, you had to go fight that motherfucker. You say some stupid shit. Y'all had a fight coming.
My favorite social media comment is, "You can unfriend me if you don't agree." Or if you feel this way, or if you like this thing or this person, you can unfriend me. It's just the ultimate virtue signal, or the ultimate unloading of frustration.
Even with Facebook, when I see somebody have like 300 friends, I'm like, you don't know 300 people. Maybe some people do, but...
Well, you don't really know them. You might have met them once, and then you friended them on Facebook, but...
So I think it became a thing of, that's an endorphin hit. You know, when people, they said there was a scientific study on this, I think, like when people's cell phone rings or something, how they react to it.
Oh, yeah.
Like a distraction. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a psychology behind, there's definitely a lot of studying behind how people have changed, how they've reacted to social media. But... Video games, movies. Let's get back to subject.
Well, I brought that up because the kind of argument the person gave me, well, video games do that. Same thing. I'm like, even then, I mean, when I was growing up, you still...
They can if you let it.
Yeah. But my interaction with people wasn't online when I was growing up. It was a bunch of us playing Contra in one room. Like, video games was a thing that you had to go over somebody's house and play 2-player games. It wasn't online.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think his argument was... I understand part of what he was saying, but overall, I said, nah, there had to be some interaction. You still were there with another human. And you still got to interact with other people. When you're online, it's that whole faceless, you know...
Right. Well, I think it's like the violent media argument that seems to come back with every generation about music and video games and movies with violence influencing people. Yeah, you can look at it like that, and you can cherry pick different instances. But if you're really looking at it objectively, and I think I know we're on the same page with this. No, it doesn't. It overall doesn't influence people to go out and do these things, to shoot up schools, to rape women or anything like, or to rape men or whatever.
Did you see the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they were it was the gun debate? I think Mac and Charlie wanted more guns on the street, and Dee and Dennis were saying it was too easy to get a gun. And then the shit they both went through, they ended up switching both of them switched sides. Dee and Dennis wanted more guns on the streets. And Charlie and Mac wanted guns off the street. But it was cool that the episode didn't... It went down the middle. It argued for both sides, and you, as the audience, had to make a choice. I wish movies and shit would continue to do that. Let the audience be smart enough to figure it out instead of trying to beat them over the head with their politics and agendas.
That's funny, because that reminds me of a debate. I don't know who it was. There was a debate between an atheist and a Christian, and the Christian used to be an atheist, and the atheist used to be a Christian. They were through their life experiences convinced on the contrary.
Yeah. Well, one scene in there, that's why I brought it up, was they saw a kid come to school in black playing on the phone, and like, oh, he's killing Zion. So they took the kid's phone from him. And Mac and Dennis like, well, I play violent video games, and I don't want to kill people. You know, so I think you have to be... I had this argument with people. It's like, I think you have to be kind of fucked up to have that in your head to use a game or music. I mean, music was a medium that was used against people to say the music is making them act like this, or a movie, Friday the 13th, is making them want to kill people. Porn is making people want to go rape people, shit like that. And like, I think I kind of be fucked up to use that as a tool or a reason to go hurt somebody.
Yeah, I think that the problems were elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't argue that. I think if you see something over and over again, it can desensitize you. I do believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think again, that's putting a Band-Aid on a situation instead of looking deeper to why somebody would want to kill another person.
Yeah, there's not enough focus on mental health. Yeah,
it's just Band-Aid is video game made to do that. Oh my! I remember my family member of mine used to. They had some conversation, and the first thing they go, video games make people do this. I'm like, but you don't. It's such a.
Did they play video games?
No. And they also, again, it's that whole. People just hear things and they don't look into it for themselves. They don't research the stuff. They just go off what they think. The world is bad because of video games make people act like this. I'm like, how do you just make a blanket statement with no real evidence or anything else to
Right, or how can you think that anything is just that simple?
And then the argument used against me was, well, because you're into it, of course you would defend it. Like, no. No, there's been tons and tons of research on this. And they say, no, there's no connection.
Speaking of guns, speaking of violence, somehow I always find a way to bring this one up. Somehow I always find a way to bring this game up, man. But another very popular game based on a movie that, in fact, revolutionized the first-person shooter industry. GoldenEye.
Jesus Christ. For those who don't know, I've never played GoldenEye. I had a Nintendo 64. Everybody at the time that had a Nintendo 64 apparently had GoldenEye, and I never did. And I get told how awesome that game is. And it's one of the games that... It's the same reaction I have to people when they tell me they never played Super Metroid. I'm like, jump off a bridge. How the fuck have you not played Super Metroid? So people tell me jump off a bridge because I haven't played 007, so I understand.
Well, people told me that when I told them I had never seen Akira. And then I watched it.
I wonder if I was one of those people, because I could swear.
Probably.
I was like,
my cousin was the first person.
I'm like, how the fuck you not see? So
my cousin, who, as far as I'm aware, doesn't even watch any anime, had seen Akira. And I just walked away from it thinking, what the fuck happened? What the fuck just happened for the last 2.5 hours? I thought it was a visually impressive movie. I don't hate the movie or anything. It's just I have to go back and watch it again. And I understand that it's tied into a bigger story in the manga.
Yeah.
And I don't know the story there, so there was a lot that was lost on me. But giant creatures, cool motorcycle scenes, a giant teddy bear. What the fuck?
What is,
fantastic visuals. I suppose. But yeah, I won't go into GoldenEye. Everybody except you knows about GoldenEye. But so the information's out there. It was a fun game, and it definitely overshadowed the movie. I think that's one of the few cases where a game based on a movie overshadowed the movie.
Yeah, that's why I hear that. I hear that. Man, it was so many games. There were so many Alien games that came out. Now, the only Alien game I think like I mentioned before, Alien 3, because the movie, I remember me and my mom went to go see that, and I'm thinking, I get to see the characters from the movie, from the part 2, see how they look now, and no, they spoilers alerts if those who have not seen Alien 3. It's a piece of shit movie, but if you're interested in seeing it, if you go through first Aliens, and you see this movie, it's like they're losing it, man. They should have stopped at 2.
Yeah.
What are they doing? And then it became canon with I'm like, I remember me and my mother was like, let's forget this movie exists. Like, good, let's do that. And then some of the scenes with the alien, it was like in these quick. You didn't really get to see the alien in full view. It was like these quick cuts. I can't stand when they do monster movies like that. I think the only movie I accept was Cloverfield in the way because of the way it was photographed or the way they filmed it.
Mm.
It's the only movie I can go that makes sense in terms of a creature with, not seeing it that much.
Right. They knew how to use mystery.
Yeah.
A lot of films, more films were better at that back in the day. But Cloverfield was one.
I think Jaws, did a good job at you not seeing a creature. But some movies don't work that well. I can't see Gremlins being a movie where you barely see the fucking things. I don't think that would work with that movie.
Right. Right. Well, that was the focus. I mean, that was the focus of the movie. Obviously, Jaws, the focus of the movie was the shark, but the way that Gremlins work, it couldn't have happened if you didn't see them on screen a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alien 3, so what they did with the game, in the movie, there was no guns, they're in prison, so how are they going to defend themselves and things like that? So, but the game, you did have guns in the game. So it was just... Who made the LJN, I think, made Alien 3?
Probably.
But yeah, you go and rescue prisoners. You get these missions from this computer, and you get various weapons, and you're going through the corridors to take out the aliens. That's a pretty decent side-scrolling. It's almost map-wise, it kind of had a Metroid. It wasn't Metroidvania at all, because you only had, I think, a flamethrower, machine gun, something else. You didn't acquire parts for armor or anything like that. But as far as the map design and stuff, kind of reminded me of Metroid in a sense. But you got all your missions from the computer screen, and you had to go tackle that mission and come back to the computer. It's a pretty decent game in terms of a game that was from a movie. And I played on NES. I did not play the Sega Genesis version, so I don't know if they were the same game or not. I'm assuming they were. Acclaim, yeah. Acclaim,
okay. Okay, yeah. During that time, they were putting out a lot of games on both of those consoles at the same time, when the Genesis was better, generally. Not always the better game, but I remember that time. I remember Bart versus the Space Mutants came out on NES and Genesis. I don't recall the Genesis version as well, although I did play both. Not the greatest game, but the Nintendo version... Well, I will say this. The Nintendo version had the rights to the Simpsons theme music, and while it did get monotonous, they at least had that, but that's They're charming for me because it's a part of my childhood. I had that game, and I had Bart versus the World also, which again wasn't the greatest game, but it was all I had back then.
That's how I look at Terminator 2. I was like high school age though, but still, I was so in love with Terminator 2. I thought that was the best thing since Jesus. And then
you're gonna get us banned.
Oh, my bad.
Pulling a John Lennon.
Jesus.
There you go.
That dude would. So anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think that's why. Like I said, it wasn't the best game or the worst game, but it was part of my. When I first got an NES, and I was just getting these games. I was in love with Terminator 2, and anything that had Terminator 2 on it, I was like, I'm getting it. And I think they have a Super Nintendo version and a Genesis version, which are, of course, have better graphics. And they're like $10 the last time I saw it at my local video game store. I've been meaning to get it, but I have been looking for Dynamite Heady 2. And I was like, if I can get Dynamite Heady, I'm trying to look for that game.
I was going to say there was a 2?
No, I meant TOO also.
Oh. Yeah, Heady, man. It's a strange cult classic. I don't even know if I call it a cult classic. I just felt like it was underappreciated.
Fight Club had a game? 2004. I did not know that. I kind of remember that, but not really. From Dusk. I do remember From Dusk Till Dawn had a game. G-Force.
Didn't know about that one. How about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
I do remember that. I never played it, but I do remember that game.
I played that. Very fun game. And what was cool about it was because it's already based on a movie that was inspired by old video games, it has a lot of references to old video games. It has a world map like Super Mario World. It has a shop system. I believe it has a level system. You can buy different items. It's very inspired by 16-bit era beat-em-ups, of course with improved graphics, and the soundtrack by Anamanaguchi, which is fucking killer.
Spider-Man. Was that the original Xbox? It had to be. When the first Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi movies, that was a pretty good Spider-Man game based on the movie. Can't remember if it came out at the same time the movie or sometime after the movie, but that was pretty good. The web slinging in the game was like the first time I can remember a Spider-Man game that I played felt like I was playing as Spider-Man and not some, just could not figure out how to...
Right, some game with the Spider-Man brand on it.
Mechanically make it, you be able to swing through the air and stuff. It was never done well like this game was.
Yeah, there seem to be just too many superhero-based games to really count, especially these days.
Ants had a game?
How about the Toy Story games?
Never touched them.
The first one was pretty good on the Genesis. I think it was both Genesis and Super Nintendo. But it had a pretty decent platforming system. They changed some of the plot to fit levels, which you see in a lot of these games based on movies. But they even had a level that was based off of Doom, where you're inside the claw machine and you have to get the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
You're like in these back tunnels, so it's not a shooter, but it's set up the first-person perspective, same style. But that was a fun game. It had some racing levels, too. Had a little of everything.
Beetlejuice had a game. Beverly Hills Cop had a game? I did not know they had a game. PlayStation 2, 2006. I do not remember that. Oh, it was released exclusively in Europe for the PlayStation 2 in 2006. Oh, okay. That was 2006, so they had another one in 1990. Did not know that. Big Trouble in Little China, did not know had a fantastic movie, but I did not know they had a game. A side-scroller beat-em-up designed by Mublet Dink. Electronic Dream Software in 86. God, that's one of my favorite movies in the 80s. Big Trouble in Little China was so crazy. Blade Runner had a game. Blair Witch had games.
Oh, boy.
Windows, Microsoft Windows. Blazing Lasers. In Japan. Oh,
shit,
okay.
dude, Lawnmower Man had a game.
I remember that punk-ass game. I'm like, why? Why? Gremlins had games. Do you remember that? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory had Cars. I remember Cars had games.
Yeah, pretty much all the Pixar movies.
Oh yeah, I remember Cliffhanger was a game too, from the '93 Stallone movie. I do not know what the gameplay was. I was like, why is that a game? Cobras? Well, I guess you could make that.
The Karate Kid.
Shooter. Yeah. Caroline. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The Crow had a game. I do remember the Crow video game. Yep, 97. Yep. Like I do remember that.
How about Hong Kong 97?
What is it? Oh, say it again.
Hong Kong 97. It's not based off a movie. It's just a really bad game that this guy made for the Super Nintendo, where you're up. You just have to just look it up when you get the time, man. It's what they did was they put in a knockoff version of Jackie Chan as the main character, and they went as far as to say it was Jackie Chan's brother. They couldn't get Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
So they got his brother or his cousin Chin or something. I don't even remember the name they used, but it's just this endless shooter where you're trying to kill Chinese communists. And they just keep coming at you. And they're giant floating. The boss is a giant floating head of like their chairman at the time or whoever he was.
Oh, okay.
But that reference, because Jackie Chan. And speaking of Jackie Chan, he's had movies turned into games, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think.
I know he had one based on his animated cartoon.
That was actually a good show, I thought.
I liked it too.
Yeah. I don't know about the game.
Yeah, I never played the game, but I do think there was a game based on that cartoon. The Godfather had a game. Side-scroller shoot 'em up. Now, if they were to do that, like if Rockstar were able to do the way they do the Grand Theft Auto games, they could do a Godfather game like that. But I guess they would have to follow the movie.
People would love it. Yeah, they'd have to get the rights.
Yeah. I think they would be able to do a good job on it.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, we got Grand Theft Auto. You don't need Godfather, but I think they could do a good job with it.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt for to see them try as long as they went about it right.
Mm-hmm. The Great Escape, 2003, UK. I don't remember that game. Hook, I remember that. That was the Robin Williams movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay. What was that? Munchausen. Something.
The what?
There was a movie, Munchausen. Something Munchausen.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, not the Syndrome. Not the Baron Munchausen. Anyway, it was a movie I remember it came out. I want to say it's early 90s or late 80s. I used to love that movie, and I'm trying to remember what was so fascinating about that movie at the time it came out. Baron. Okay, Baron. It's a fictional German. Yeah, so I think they made a movie out of this guy. Or, I don't know if it's a real person or not, but.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, do you remember the Austin Powers game on the Game Boy?
No.
I actually bought it, man, because I fucking loved Austin Powers back in the day. The first two movies. The first one, really, looking back. But anyway, they had basically just because they had to make a game because Austin Powers. They had, it was like 8 games in one, and all of them were dog shit. You had a platformer, you had like a puzzle game, a card game, I think. I don't even remember everything in there, but it was awful. But I loved the game. I don't even remember if I really liked it that much, or it was just because, it's Austin Powers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one that's often forgotten for good reasons, if you ask me.
Kroll had a game. Kung Fu. Oh, the Kung Fu Panda game is not bad. I think I got that on my Xbox 360. It either came. I ended up getting that game because my old Xbox 360 had the Ring of Death, Red Ring of Death, and then I got another one that came packed in with the game. It's a pretty good beat 'em up game. 3 beat 'em up game. What can I compare it to? I don't know. Not Crash, but it because there's not a lot of like beat 'em up games. It wasn't side scrolling. It was like full not open world, but you can maneuver through the world. Like you would.
You mean?
But yeah, that's not a bad game.
You mean an open-ended world where you can revisit places?
Something like that. Like you start off, if you saw the Kung Fu Panda movie, it kind of goes there. But it was cool how they made it like a platformer fighter, beat 'em up type of thing. It's little platforming, but it's mostly like a Kung Fu, beat 'em up game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not side scrolling. It's open. I don't know what you call it. 3D, just 3D.
Oh yeah, where you can move in all 4 directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have an
8.
X and a Y axis, or an X, Y, and Z. My physics. Behind the back, I think it was behind the back view. You can rotate the camera in front of you and stuff like that. But you had. Oh, okay.
Similar to what Batman. If you played Batman: Arkham Asylum, a 3D beat 'em up, or whatever you want to call it. It's a beat 'em up that's not side scrolling, but it's behind the back when you're running and stuff, and then when you get into a fight, you pan the camera around.
Yeah, like a third-person 3D.
Yeah. So yeah, action adventure game. It's a pretty good game. Remember, Peter Jackson's King Kong, I think, released when the movie came out, or around the time the movie came out.
Now that was the one with Jack Black, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that movie.
I was so bored until, King Kong had to go to the city or whatever.
Right, the scene that everybody talks about.
But there was the longest. It's like this movie could have been cut down. Oh, some of that's like this dialogue. Like, I'm waiting for the action. That's the problem with. See, Godzilla movies, you're never interested in the character. Like the humans, you never give a fuck about the humans.
Right.
But the way they do it, though, as campy as they can be, they don't. When they focus on the people, on the monsters, they focus on the monsters. There's not a lot of monster that they cut to the humans. There's some of that, but not to the point where you're like, oh my God, will you stop showing these people? Like what the Transformers did. Godzilla movies don't do that. The Transformers movie focus way too much on the people, on the humans. And it was like, we want to see the robots beat the shit out of each other. I don't care about these people that much.
Right, well, every movie has to have a love story now.
Do they? I haven't.
No, I'm not saying that they objectively have to. I'm just saying that a lot of people feel the need to put
And I understand with, Godzilla movies, Godzilla can't talk, so you're going to need the humans to create dialogue. But even if they're interesting characters, I don't give a fuck. I just want to see Godzilla beat the shit out of whatever he's fighting. And so King Kong, it's kind of like, just wait to come. And it was over. Like, okay.
Pretty much what I thought too. The giant bugs, I thought were kind of interesting.
Now, you talking about the new King Kong movie or the Peter Jackson?
The new one. Or the Peter Jackson, yeah.
Was that bugs? I don't remember that.
Oh, it was giant everything on that island.
I don't remember bugs.
I know the scene where they're stuck down in a swamp and just like these armies of giant arachnids and these little beetle-like bugs were coming down and they eat one of the guys head first.
Oh man, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I forgot about that. God, what year did they come out?
It's been a while. I want to say like the mid-2000s.
Oh God, yeah, that had to be like 2005, 2006 because I was teaching around that time. And I remember my students, they knew I liked Godzilla a lot, and we used to have this I was telling who would win between Godzilla and King Kong. And I drew a comic of, I'm biased, so of course I had Godzilla fuck King Kong up, but I had where you see King Kong.
I don't see how that could end any other way, honestly.
Well, they had to make them, I think in this, they're supposed to be making a King Kong versus Godzilla movie after this Godzilla movie that comes out this year. And I guess they made King Kong, they had to make him the same height as Godzilla, but he's not big. He's big enough to only,
that's what I was, in comparison to Godzilla, yeah, the size would end it right away.
Yeah, So that's how I had it in the comic that I did. And then Godzilla laughed at him after he burnt him up.
Yeah, not exactly a fair fight.
No. Just breathe on him. But they say it's like Godzilla's more of a tank and King Kong is more agile.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I guess people were like, well, if they were the same height.
Put Godzilla against Cloverfield. I'd be interested in seeing that.
Well, see, Godzilla survived a black hole. Godzilla's fought. In Godzilla fought in the Final Wars, he fought pretty much an army of dinosaur monsters by himself. Like, he was so pissed off in this movie. Like, he murked everybody. Like, he was like, fuck everybody, fuck this world, I'm fucking everybody up.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guys. Now, that movie, they put too many humans in that, but the fight scenes, when there were fight scenes in it, they were pretty cool. And then when he fought the American Godzilla, I actually got up and fucking cheered because I fucking hated that Godzilla. The cartoon, I'll give it credit, was way better than the movie as for the Godzilla 98. The American Godzilla, when they did the animated cartoon that came on Saturday, it was actually pretty good. I actually liked it, but I had to give it credit. But when he murdered that bastard, I actually cheered. That's how much of a fanboy I am that Godzilla, like y'all fucked up the 98 one. So good, the real Godzilla came and just fuck him up. That was a personal.
Isn't it funny that we still call him Godzilla?
Well, Gojira.
Right.
Because the way it sounded, when people heard the Japanese say it, it sounded like they were saying Godzilla. That's, I think, from what the rumor or the myth or the whole lore behind why it's called Godzilla is because of Gojira. Because of their accent, it sounded like they were saying Godzilla, the way they were saying it, so people just called it that.
Well, same thing with Donkey Kong.
It was Donkey Kong's original name.
Monkey Kong. Now, I'm not sure if this is completely true or not, but I do know that the name was not originally intended to be Donkey Kong.
Oh, okay.
I heard that somebody misheard, just like with Gojira.
Oh, okay.
I think it might have just been a marketing move. Like people were thinking, well, Monkey Kong, I think that had something to do with MGM's lawsuit against Nintendo also.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, the way they did, what I found out they did his roar, Godzilla's roar in the Gojira original movie was a glove and a string instrument to get that sound.
Huh. I can hear that now, thinking of how like I grind a guitar string, I get that kind of sound. Yeah. Clever.
Yeah, you're a music person. You would, yeah, 'cause I'm like, how do they pull that off? It's so distinct. That's why when I first got into Godzilla, it was the design of it. That's why, again, even as a kid, I had a weird, I had a thing about designs of a character. Like there was something unique about Godzilla's look. Because I thought he was a dragon when I was a kid. I was into dinosaurs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, that's not a dragon. Like, but it breathes fire and shit. Like, no, it's not a dragon. And he was like, it's just a monster. I was fascinated by the design of it, and that his dorsal fins would glow. I'm like, and as a kid, you're like, oh my, I blew my load on that. I thought it was so cool, and then I've always been a fan of it. Why did I bring that up? Oh, anyway, so the roar too was so distinctive. I remember hearing it as a kid, like, man, I've never heard anything that sounded like that.
Yeah,
then
if you grind something like, say, I mean, it could change depending on what you use, but when I occasionally I'll do it for effect too. You grind the pick against the string, and this goes with any string instrument because the body, the way it's designed, or the way that an electric instrument with strings is amplified, it creates sort of this scratchy sound, like, or I'm not doing it justice, but it sounds like the Godzilla roar, basically. And I never thought about that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep. So I was like, wow, that's like, who would thought of that?
I figured they hired a dragon and brought him into the studio to do it.
But I'm always fascinated when people can come up with a sound effect, even if it was like on accident or something, and it just become like this iconic. Like when you hear that roar, you know it's who that is.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that in 1954.
Think about, old Warner Brothers, Termite Terrace, the way that they were making their sounds back then.
Oh, yeah.
Disney, too. All the old radio shows, the ways they had to be clever.
Yeah, it's fun how just stuff stick. Even the movie lines. I don't know if we have any. What's the most recent movie line that people quote and people know what that movie is? Has it been
I have a certain set of skills.
I should know that. I don't know what that is. What movie is that from?
Taken.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that.
Or with great power comes great responsibility.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Who Watches the Watchmen?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
That one not quite as big, but yeah.
Have you seen, since I haven't played GoldenEye, this is person that I gave a disc to, didn't even have to buy it, and have not watched the movie, I assume, Black Dynamite, and it's wonder if this person ever watched it yet.
Well, to be fair, I know this person too, and to be fair, they haven't really watched any movies in a long time.
But to be fair, this person got it for free. It's been almost a year or more, and love the person to see this movie. Just even Old Boy. Old Boy is another movie.
I'll talk to this person, okay? I'm going to talk to this person, and I'm going to tell them that they need to watch that movie before we come on and do another show.
That would be nice if that were to happen. Because I would like to get this individual's opinion of it. Especially after this person introduced me to the YouTube video with the dude that goes with the lingo. What is he? He says stuff like, what was the funniest thing?
Better tie your shoes, sucker, because it's nap time. Catchphrase Jones.
Catchphrase Jones. Oh.
Sometimes the apple falls from the tree and then attacks the tree.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll talk to that person though.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, man. I know that you were factoring in time, and I got to get going myself.
Yep.
So I think it's a good note to leave it on.
Yep.
Yeah, so use your judgment on video games based on movies. I'm sure most of you out there have played plenty of them also. A lot of good. Well, there's a lot of bad, definitely. There's definitely some good, too, though.
Yeah, I think
one of the problems which creates bad movie-based games is the same problem that makes bad game-based movies. There's a lack of involvement with the actual producer of the original.
Yeah, and then you got to think of the movie in a game world.
Yeah, that too. And a lot of things have to be made up.
Yeah, and then you got to take a movie and try to make a movie out of the gaming world. And how would that? I think that's the problem superhero movies had at one point. They were concerned about, well, we don't want it to look corny. How do we make? And everybody just made black outfits for all the superheroes to kind of address that issue. And then how do you make it a little bit more realistic without it being corny and stuff like that? So it's hard to translate comic book to movies. They've finally got it. I think Blade was one of the ones that when it first came out, because I remember superhero movies before then were like garbage. And Blade don't really get mentioned or credit. People kind of have to remember when Black Panther came out. I was like, Black Panther was not the first to do this. People, Blade came out. Spawn.
Black Vampire.
Who?
Blade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't get the whole celebration around Black Panther. I haven't seen the movie, but I guarantee you it's not as great as everybody's making it to be. And that's because I would judge it based on a different metric than they are.
Right. Again, this movie was all about woke points. How woke can you go? And it's like I was hearing all this misinformation about this was the first Black Cat, Meteor Man by Robert Townsend. He even tweeted at one point because he got so fed up with it. Like, no, I did this first. It may not how you think is good or bad is up to the person, but you want to go by first. The shit was already done. The shit that they claim to be were woke about, it has already happened, and it's weird to see them act like the shit never happened.
Well,
I agree with people.
I don't know the context of what he meant, or I don't even know if he's the one that came up with that quote. Who originally coined the phrase "get woke, go broke"? Was that the Quartering?
I first heard him say it.
Yeah, I've heard it from other people, but I hear it from him. And
he said he heard it from somebody. I can't remember who he said coined. He actually gave credit to the person coined it. And I can't remember who he said.
Okay, I feel like that. I don't.
He just made it popular though.
Yeah. He's like the Edison of that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, clearly it hasn't applied to Black Panther at this point, but anyway, yeah, it's intellectually broke.
Yeah,
I'll say they're definitely, and I don't know the context. It's a funny saying.
I love it.
I'll give it that.
Yeah.
And on that note, gotta think of a catchphrase. I think I'm just gonna keep on coming up with different ones, pulling them out of my ass every time we do this. So, play fucking games. Yeah, there you go.
I had a catchphrase.
Get good
in
or
mind.
get going. That's corny though. That's so corny. That's just like go big or go home.
Do I have one? Mine usually involve groping females. So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Not against their will. Let me preface that.
Okay, right. Yeah, we'll roll that back.
I want to Me Too shit movement. I want you groping people for no reason.
Yeah,
Let
we're not
the lady say you can grope her. Then even then, get her permission. And on camera these days, it's not. They'll turn around and say, "Oh, I felt violated," after you gave permission to be violated. You dumb bitch. So.
That totally kills the effect of that saying, though. So I think we should just put like a clause at the bottom of the episode.
Yeah.
Phantom Outlaw nor Zuv endorse the mistreatment of women.
Yeah. Or men.
Right.
We gotta be
just
equal
the mistreatment. Be good to each other. Don't be a cunt.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jim Jeffries said.
Yeah, just be
Yeah.
Be good to each other.
Be good to each other. Be excellent to each other. Bill and Ted.
Yes. Be excellent to yourself.
Also not a good game based on a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never played Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That was a game too. Movie.
I didn't play that one.
Alrighty then.
All right. Well then, yeah. This is Zoo signing out.
This is Phantom Outlaw also signing out.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.